Missiles over the Gulf, oil prices surging, allies growing uneasy. Analysts say Iran isn't trying to win the war, it's trying to widen it. A strategy called horizontal escalation: stretch the battlefield, raise the costs, force Washington to blink. But is Tehran setting a trap for Donald Trump? Conflicting signals from Washington are raising questions about the trajectory of the escalating US-Iran confrontation. On March 10th, US President Donald Trump said the war on Iran was very complete. Yet a day later, on March 11th, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warned that Tehran would face the most intense day of strikes yet under Operation Epic Fury. According to The Telegraph, the apparent contradiction may reflect a deeper strategic dilemma: the risk that overwhelming military force could draw Washington into a prolonged conflict resembling the Vietnam War. Scholars say Tehran may be pursuing a strategy known as horizontal escalation, widening the conflict geographically and politically rather than confronting a stronger adversary directly. The concept was outlined by Robert Pape, director of the University of Chicago's Project on Security and Threats, in an essay published in Foreign Affairs.
Horizontal escalation occurs when a state widens the geographic and political scope of a conflict rather than intensifying it vertically in a single theater. It is especially appealing as a strategy for the weaker parties in a military contest. Instead of trying to defeat a stronger adversary head-on, the weaker side multiplies arenas of risk, drawing additional states, economic sectors, and domestic publics into the remit of the conflict.
According to Pape, Iran's recent strikes across Gulf infrastructure appear consistent with that approach. Security analysts say the effects are already visible in the Gulf, where energy, shipping, and tourism sectors have been hit by Iranian missile and drone attacks. According to Johnny Gannon, a recently retired CIA officer, Gulf states are also spending around $28 on defense for every dollar Iran spends on its offensive arsenal. That is why Iran's president apologized to neighboring countries on Saturday, even as its missiles and drones continued to target them. The message was directed at those countries' citizens, not to their rulers, who in Iran's view are betraying them.
The longer the conflict continues, the harder it becomes for rulers to sustain that partnership with Israel without sacrificing legitimacy at home.
Even before the US-Israeli strikes started on March 2nd, the Gulf states, with the possible but unconfirmed exception of Saudi Arabia, were urgently trying to get Trump to do a deal with Iran rather than resorting to war. The same is true of the UK and America's allies in Europe, Turkey, Iraq, and even Lebanon. With energy prices soaring and inflation already feeding through to the price of fuel and high-street commodities, those countries, like the Gulf states, are coming under mounting political pressure to either rein in President Trump or distance themselves from him. It may be a quirk of history, but it may be informative that Iran is the only major conflict since Vietnam in which the UK has not teamed up with the US from the outset. Berku Ozcelik, a Middle East security expert at the Royal United Services Institute, said the pressure campaign is aimed at Washington. Iran's strategy is to create pressure on Washington, D.C. by angering the Gulf and by creating upward trends in the price of oil, gas, and other commodities. Meanwhile, analysts say Tehran is seeking to raise the political and economic costs of continued escalation.
Tehran is trying to raise the cost of escalation until Washington starts looking for an exit ramp.
As tensions continue to escalate across the Middle East, Iran's military has issued a striking appeal to people across the region. A senior spokesperson for the country's armed forces has called on Muslims and neighboring states to reveal the locations of American and Israeli military assets, saying the information would allow Tehran to conduct more precise strikes. The remarks were made by Abul Fazl Shekachi, a brigadier general and official spokesperson for the Iranian armed forces. According to the Iranian state-affiliated outlet Defa Press, Shekachi urged people in the region to identify what he described as the hideouts, of American and Israeli forces. In his statement, Shekarchi framed the request as a measure intended to protect civilians. He said providing such information would help ensure that ordinary people in the region are not caught in the crossfire during military operations.
I call on the Muslim people of the region and the countries of the region to show us the hideouts of US and Zionist forces so that they themselves will not be harmed, and so that we can strike them more precisely. In this way, the people of the region will be safe from the crushing blows of our armed forces, and we can also free these people from the United States and Israel. We ask the Muslim people of the region not to become shields for the invading US army, so that, God willing, we can more effectively, more strongly, and more quickly remove the Americans from the region.
The Iranian spokesperson also urged people not to shield American troops operating in the Middle East. He said that avoiding such protection would allow Iranian forces to carry out their operations more effectively and more rapidly. At the same time, Shekarchi accused Washington and Israel of deliberately targeting civilians. He claimed the two countries were unable to confront Iranian forces directly and were therefore attacking ordinary people instead. Addressing what he called American Zionist enemies, the Iranian military spokesperson also issued a warning of retaliation. He said the actions would be avenged and warned that severe strikes against those responsible should be expected. Shekarchi further criticized statements from Washington about supporting the Iranian public. Referring to Donald Trump, he said the United States had launched its campaign under the claim of helping the Iranian people, while those same civilians were now being harmed by military strikes. Meanwhile, opposition voices outside Iran have issued their own calls to action. Exiled Iranian Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi released a message urging Iranians to prepare for what he described as a decisive stage in their struggle. In a video published by the London-based outlet Iran International, Pahlavi called on citizens to remain indoors for their safety and to gather essential supplies. He also urged people to continue protest actions, including refusing to attend work and maintaining nightly chants as a demonstration of unity. Pahlavi additionally addressed members of Iran's military and law enforcement, who remain aligned with the government, describing the moment as their final opportunity to break away and stand with the population. He concluded his message by urging supporters to wait for what he called his final call. As the conflict intensifies and rhetoric on all sides becomes sharper, the region now faces mounting uncertainty. With military threats, public appeals, and opposition mobilization unfolding simultaneously, the situation appears to be entering a new and potentially volatile phase.